I like to be able to share a subject that's very dear to my heart, and that's phobias. And after I share with you my story, if I may, I'd like to go through the 7 steps that actually helped me get over this phobia. This was when I was 11 years old, and I just started my comprehensive school, and we'd just moved. So the comprehensive school was near where we used to live in North London, and we'd moved to the outer outskirts of London, right near Epping Forest. So it was in a totally different part of London. So the journey was really a hefty journey for an 11-year-old. In the mornings and the early evenings to go home. It involved having taken one bus, then the underground, then another bus. And I was actually quite a big child for 11 years old and quite aggressive. So when I actually started this journey, I really didn't like it. I didn't know anyone, and I was in competition with all the other kids and with the adults during rush hour, especially the last leg of the journey, in which it was the most difficult. And I started to develop a real fear. I was panicky about the journey. I didn't want to do it. But because I was quite a large lad and thought that I should be able to do this journey, I started to get very embarrassed and ashamed. And my opinion of myself really started to sink. And I just couldn't understand where all this fear was coming from. But it got to the point where I just didn't want to go to school. And I started to play truant, and I walked the streets, and I wasn't eating because I wasn't at school to have any meals, and I would turn up at home after 4 o'clock pretending I'd been at school. So it was affecting my grades, it was affecting my day. I was just constantly distressed, and a lot of the time I was crying, and sometimes I'd turn up at my grandmother's and pretend that I'd been at school, but she didn't live far away from my school. But I was walking the streets all day, or sitting in cafes over one cup of tea or one cup of coffee. So it got to this was for weeks, this was for months, and even at 11 years old I realised I couldn't continue doing it like this, living my life like this. So this is when I realised the first step. I had to admit that I was having a problem. I couldn't deny any longer that I was okay, that I was dealing with the issue. I wasn't. So I had to admit to myself that I had a problem. And the second step was, once I'd admitted to having a problem, I had to ask for help. I couldn't do it on my own. And I realised I had to tell my parents, because I couldn't continue with the way things were going on. I'd really had hit rock bottom. And I knew I couldn't do this alone. And I had to share what was going on. Trying to deal with it alone just didn't work. So the third step was, once I'd realised that I had to admit it and I had to ask for help, I had to communicate. I had to speak to my parents, and they had to listen. And it's most important. So talking to people that you really trust is essential. So I first spoke to my brother, and then spoke to my parents about it. And as we continued speaking, it became clear to me and us what the problems were. So the fourth step was, once they started to understand what was going on, I had to face up to the consequences. Because facing up to the consequences, the reverse of sticking your head in the sand. I had to realise how it was impacting on my life and how it was impacting on theirs, because they were worried about me, they were concerned, they were anxious about me. As I said, I was losing weight, I was walking the streets, I was in possibly dangerous situations, and I was living in fear all the time. And you can't have an 11-year-old living in fear. So I had to face up to the consequences. And the fifth step, was replacing bad habits with good ones. So instead of my parents saying to me, oh, you have to face up to what's going on, you have to be a young man, you're just like all the other kids, do it by yourself. And I actually asked my brother to help me, to escort me to school and then meet me afterwards and bring me back home. And that wasn't to make sure I wasn't playing truant, but that was to normalise the journey. That was to help take me out of myself, to have somebody to talk to actually make the journey a pleasant one and enjoyable. So as I said, it was replacing the bad habits that I'd created through the course of the weeks and through the months with the good habits, which was actually leaving home, wanting to leave home and wanting to get to school on time and enjoy my day and then have no problems getting home because I was with my brother. So the sixth thing, the sixth step, was that my parents weren't critical. People who have phobias, have very real fears. It doesn't matter whether it's logical or not. It doesn't matter whether they have real fears or not. When you're experiencing the phobias, the last thing that you want is to be criticised for it, because you'll just shut down. You won't seek help. You'll stay in denial. And my parents, thankfully, weren't critical. They were very supporting, they were very loving, they were very caring. They wanted to find solutions with me. And the seventh step is that once those solutions are found, was to do it over and over and over again until it became a daily good habit, and that it was consistent and that I knew what to expect. And I was just doing it continually every day with my brother, who never seemed to lose patience with me. And so eventually, when he actually said to me, do you think you can do this journey by yourself? I said, yeah, okay. And the first time I did the journey by myself, I did it. And then after a while, I was okay. It did take some time. My parents did actually take me to the GP, and I was diagnosed with depression at 11, and I was prescribed some Valium for children. And it's a good thing my brother was with me, because I did sometimes fall asleep on the journey, so I would have missed my bus stops or my train stops if it wasn't for him. But the most important thing was, those 7 steps, which helped me to resolve the problem of my travel phobia. So if you can actually identify with what I've been sharing with you, if you've had phobias and you like to share with us how you've managed to get over it, how you managed to resolve them, then please do so on the comment box below. If you're actually experiencing any phobias at the moment and you would like to share what's happening with you, but you don't want to put it in the comment box, then private message us. So if you liked what you've heard, give us a click on the button below. I've been Simon for Mr. and Mrs. Know-How, and do remember that if you want to learn now, you need to know how. Bye-bye for now.